and welcome to Sage Cigarettes Presents A Ghost in the Magazine. I'm Jay,
And I'm Gabe.
and this week's film is Shaun of the Dead. Did you like this film, Gabe?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be everyone's favorite comedy horror movie, right? I mean, it's mine.
Yeah, easily top two of the Cornetto trilogy. So, as you may have noticed, there is no Steph, and there is no Elle, and there is no Ali, because they had their girls' night. So, you know what it is: sausage party. Just two dudes being guys.
Being bros. All right.
All right, we are introduced to our protagonist, Shaun, who is a electronic salesman and really has no direction in life. He's just at a pub with his long-suffering girlfriend, her mates, and his best friend Ed. And he's Matthew McConaughey, isn't he? He's like, all right, all right, all right. But he's not attractive in any way.
No,
sorry,
he's the
Nick Frost.
obnoxious friend that his college mentality, the party and play video games and get drunk.
If he
Yeah.
had gone to college, yeah.
Right, because he probably didn't. But so he's just kind of stuck in that phase.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy who's in his late 20s and his best friend are the teenagers that he sells drugs to. Anyway, they're in a pub and Liz is complaining to Shaun because Shaun leads a very boring life. He goes to the same pub every night. He does the same things day in, day out. Just a boring life. They don't do anything, they don't go anywhere. And this is kind of egged on by her mates, especially the Irish one, who, for some reason, they decided to make him look like a conservative MP. So, anyway, Shaun promises to make a reservation for him and Liz for the next day. And the next day happens and he completely forgets. And Liz dumps him. So him and Ed, they have a lock-in, they go to a pub, they get fucked up. And throughout all of this section, there's like this undertone of like something's happening, something's coming. There's very sinister moments of very sharp focus of Shaun. And then it's over in a flash because someone needed the correct amount of change or something like that.
When he went to the store, I think it was the newspaper, talked about
Oh, yeah.
something going on.
The newspaper said that mutant crops were being made and people were worried about the effects that it had in the body. And you hear that a US spacecraft has just descended into the sea off the British coast and all of these things. And it's very vague and there's a sense of something is going to happen, but everything's happening at once. So it's very hard to narrow it down. But that happens. And then the real sort of tipping point into, well, this is just weird too. Oh shit, it's zombies. Is Shaun and Ed leave the pub plastered. This is about 4 a.m. These two standing outside making out by the looks of it. And they look back and they're like, way, hey, lucky bastard. And they turn away and they go to walk away. And as they do that, the dude's head falls off. And you see that she's been like chewing at his neck. So there's all these little things about the zombies are coming, the zombies are coming. It's not like World War Z. It's not I Am Legend. This is a very English way of dealing with the zombie apocalypse.
Right. It's kind of like mellow in comparison to if this were to take place in like a big city and everyone's running around and looting and screaming. But at some point in the movie, there's a guy, he's like running away.
Oh,
screaming.
yes. The second long shot from Shaun's house to the corner shop where he gets the cornetto. It's like the guy runs past and Shaun just goes in, doesn't really pay him any attention, pulls open the thing to get like a soda out, and there's like bloody handprints down it.
Right.
Doesn't notice anything. And then as he's leaving, he knows the guy. So he's just like, I'm just going to leave it on the counter. You'll be grand. And then he leaves. He goes back because he's hungover to fuck. So Shaun and Ed wake into a new world where there's zombies, although it takes them a time to realize this.
It takes them a good while to figure it out.
They find a woman in their back garden called Mary, and they think Mary's drunk. And in fact, Mary is a zombie and tries to attack them. And this is sort of where it all starts to go downhill. They're trying to figure out ways to like fight them. They do have a frisbee game with vinyls at the zombies.
Yes, and they're trying to decide which ones to throw.
That's such a good scene.
Yeah. He's like, nope, not that one, not that one. Meanwhile, there's two zombies slowly walking towards them. It's like, nope, not not that one.
So that happens. They kill them, and then they're inside. They're watching the news, and it's like, stay away from them if you can, but if you can't, destroy the head. And that newscaster is an actual journalist for BBC News. Did you know that?
That's
That's
hilarious.
what makes it even better. So yeah, that happens, and suddenly it's like this real lazy, easy life with no sort of thought behind it. Shaun has to actually think for the first time in a long time, and he comes up with one of the most infamous plans in all of cinema because he says it all in one sentence.
I think he gives it like 3 tries.
Because there's issues with the plan as they go along.
Right.
Take car, go to mum's, kill Phil, sorry.
Yes.
Grab Liz, go to the Winchester, have a nice cold pint and wait for all this to blow over.
Yes.
Shaun promised to go see his mum today, so he has to go pick her up. He has flowers for her. So he rings her, tells her to stay inside, and she says that his stepdad is complaining of a little bit of a sore head because he was attacked. And Shaun starts to panic. Oh shit, my stepdad is a zombie. Fantastic Disney film. If it's not, it should be. And he rings Liz, obviously, goes to find Liz and her 2 roommates, one of which is in love with her, even though he's dating her other friend because
David
he's
and
a
Diane.
cunt.
Yep. Very well said.
Yep, David and Diane, right. Unfortunately, the Irish one is the cunty one. Anyway, right. So they steal their flatmate's car. The
Mhm.
flatmate who doesn't get along with Ed, who like really hates him because he's a freeloader. Shaun goes to find him. He's in the shower, bollock naked, but a zombie. So they
And
take the car and they escape. They drive to Shaun's mum's.
he lets Ed drive because Ed really wanted to drive Pete's car.
Yes, because it would piss Pete off.
When they came home for drinking, they were like rapping or something. They woke Pete up and Pete was mad and, whatever. So they're, exchanging a few words and Pete insulted Ed. Next time I see him, he's going to be dead.
And
Something
then
like,
he is.
yeah. And the next time they see him, he's a zombie. So he's dead.
Yeah, the next time he sees him, actually, it's not in the house. The next time he sees him is in the Winchester when he
Right.
walks in.
Because Shaun didn't tell him, oh, hey, Pete was in the flat and he's a
Yeah,
zombie. He just kind of left the bathroom real quick, closed the door, and like, yep, let's go. Let's go.
drive.
Yeah.
So from there, they go to Barbara and Philip's house. And Philip is the stepdad and Barbara's the mum. And Barbara's all very nervous and like doesn't really like making a fuss, like mums are. And Philip is sitting in the seat, white as a sheet. And Sean's thinking, finally, I can live out the fantasy of killing my stepfather. But he can't because he's a pussy.
But he's about to, and then Philip speaks. So he's like, holy crap. Like he's actually.
Yeah, he shits himself. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like.
The thing is, with this film and the way that some people act about it, it's very much how people are dealing with COVID right now.
Yeah.
Philip's like, oh, it's just a scratch. What are you ringing the ambulance about? Blah, blah, blah. That's how it started in the first place. And that's how we got to where we are. The world is fucked if there's ever a zombie outbreak. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely.
100%. Yeah, they end up taking Philip and Barbara with them. And as they're going, they get into Philip's car, which is
The Jaguar.
The Jag.
But the only reason they took the Jaguar instead of Pete's car is because Ed had an quote unquote accident.
Uh-huh.
He accidentally crashed.
Uh-huh. And he jumps out of the car and says a racial slur that would get this film stopped today.
Oh, yeah.
And before they leave, Philip gets bit in the neck. So he's already in a bad shape. Now he's in worse shape. So they all hop in the car. Ed sticks on his music, which is really loud, that Philip complains about constantly. And they get to Liz's.
When they get to Liz's and he goes to get out of the car, he can't open the door because the child locks are on.
The child locks are on, for fuck's sake.
He's left.
They don't have children.
No.
They're elderly. So Shaun hops out, pops his way through. Ed starts to do laps of the estate in case the zombies essentially gather around them and bite them. So Shaun has to get in. He's using the buzzer to try and convince them to let him in, to convince them to come with him because it's not safe in their flats. So they don't let him in and he climbs in through the window anyway. And it's here he sort of like has this big heart to heart with Liz about getting them out of there, telling the Irish lad to go fuck himself. So eventually they agree because they don't have a better plan. And they all get in the car and drive off. And this is the first time that Liz and Barbara have met.
Right. I forgot about that. Yeah. It's the first time they're
Which
meeting.
there are worse ways to introduce your girlfriend / ex-girlfriend to your mother.
Right.
I mean, I've not done them, but So after this, they're driving off. And Sean's stuck in the back beside Philip, and Philip starts to slip away. And he has this very emotional moment with Sean where he's like, I tried to be a good dad. I tried to do the best for you. And he passes. Sean starts crying. He's like, Mom, it's Philip. Philip's gone. And Barbara looks back and she says, No, he's not. He's awake.
I'm pretty sure he was telling Ed pull over too. Ed's
Yeah,
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 and
yeah.
Ed's just kind of like, well, whatever. But yeah, Barbara's like, oh yeah, he's awake, and then he looks over, and he's immediately a
Philip has
zombie.
turned
It went from this emotional, sad tone to like panic, and they can't get out of the car
instantly. Yep.
because the freaking child locks are on. So
It's mad. It's a shit show. But then they finally manage to get out. They lock Philip in the car, but in the process, they turn the music back on. And Barbara's like, We can't go without Philip. And he's still crying. Sean's like, Mum, that is not your husband anymore. That is a dead creature. And he turns the music off. Philip turns the music off from inside the car,
I love it.
which kind of, well, it fits in, I suppose, with the end of the film. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Right, right,
So they continue with the plan, heading towards the Winchester on foot,
right.
going through like back gardens. And this is where the infamous scene that has been in all of the Cornetto trilogy films, where Sean looks dead in the camera and says, What, haven't you taken a shortcut before? And goes to leap over the fence and flounders in the middle of it.
Yeah, the fence falls, right? That's what happens.
Oh, he leaps over and he goes, Whoa! And
Oh, he
falls
falls
down.
over. Okay, he falls over. Okay.
Yeah. In the Hot Fuzz, the second Cornetto trilogy film,
Hmm.
his character's a badass. So he just like leaps over like 5 of them and then goes down and jumps over the third one and
Hmm.
does like a backflip. And Nick Frost's character is like, Yeah. And then like runs to do it and falls through the fence. It's ridiculous. So they're doing this and they run into another group of survivors led by one of Sean's old friends. You kind of get the sense that they were something maybe at one point, or like there's like an unrequited thing there. But both groups are mirror versions of each other. You have the ex, the couple friends of the ex, you have the cousin or the weird guy down the back, and you have the mum following up.
Hmm.
It's a lot of tropes, and I don't know why Edgar Wright wanted to do that.
Yeah. The funny thing is, like, as they're splitting ways and they're separating, they each kind of like interact with each other in a similar
Hmm.
fashion, and it's awesome.
Like it's like, oh hello. They get to a fence opposite the Winchester, and when they do, they notice Barbara's gone missing. She's been attacked by a zombie, and Sean goes to save her. When this happens, Barbara gets bit, but she keeps it a secret because she is the worst kind of person. She's the type of person that goes out without a mask on and sneezes everywhere
Hmm.
and doesn't sanitize her hands.
Right.
This has no real world equivalent, but I'm comparing it to that.
It's after that that they kill that zombie, which is
They,
funny because
yeah,
like they didn't really have anything to kill it with, but someone hands Sean like a pole and has like a tether ball attached to it, and
yes,
he's like, ah, yes, and he uses the ball to try to kill the zombie, and they're like, no, and they're like gesturing him to poke it, impale it.
yeah. It's the two
Yeah.
girls. It's Liz and Diane.
Yeah, Diane, yeah. And then they notice that the fence opposite the Winchester. They see all the zombies and they're like, how are we
Yeah, it's
gonna
a
get across?
huge
Just
crowd.
yeah, it's
It's
just
like a
like
horde.
someone said something like, Monan's not gonna get you anywhere. And it like clicked.
Moaning could get us somewhere. Yeah. So of course they turn to the acting major who's unemployed, and she's like, "Okay, everyone, brrr, brrr. Ow. Unique New York. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan." And she sort of gets them into the idea of like, okay, if we can pretend to be zombies, we could get across there like through the horde before they notice. So they do that and they get there. They actually get to the pub. And then they turn around and Ed's on the phone talking to the kid that works under Sean about drugs.
Oh, extremely loud too. No care in the world. Like, yeah, man, what's up?
Not a single shit was given that day. And when that happens, Sean finally loses it and realizes this guy's a fucking asshole. And he just lets him have it. He tears into him. And at this point, you realize all the zombies are looking at Sean and Ed.
All just staring. Because they're not even walking towards them, they're just standing there.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And the door's locked.
Sean does what he thinks he needs to do and leads them away. And as he does so, he knocks over a bin where he had thrown the flowers for his mum the day before because
Yeah.
he was trying to give them to Liz as like to make up. And she
She's like, oh,
finds the flowers. I think they're for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The messed up part is, so the way they got in was through the window that David
Yes.
broke out of panic, even though there was a back door that Shaun was trying to tell them they can go through.
Yeah, exactly. Sean leads them away and they all go inside and they're sort of sitting there for a couple of hours. They're having a drink to keep their spirits up and it gets dark and Sean shows up. Sean gets back and they're like, "How did you survive?" He just led them away. And they're sitting there again for a couple of hours waiting for all of this to blow over, having a drink, and the electric goes out. So he goes to check out the fuse box. And when he does, he flips the light, and suddenly at the back door, there's a horde of zombies.
He notices it and then turns it out.
And then goes back to the group. Doesn't mention anything.
But I think he was saying to them, like, we got to be very quiet. And then Ed starts using the pinball machine.
One of those pound machines that you put one in, you do the like little game to try and win money on. They have them in pubs everywhere here.
Yeah, that's what it was. And all the coins start coming out, and it's like
Yeah, he
super
actually
loud.
wins the jackpot, and then that's what sets off the zombies. They start slapping at the window, and the jukebox comes on in the middle of it, starts
On,
playing "Don't Stop Me Now" by Queen, and they're hitting a zombie
yeah.
with the pool cues.
Who turned the music on? Oh, it's on random. And then like they can't figure out how
It's
to turn
on
it.
random, that's right.
They,
Because they're sitting in the pub the night before, and like a really sad song comes on when Sean is like moping about Liz. Who put this song on? It's on random.
yeah. But yeah, they start hitting the bartender. Start
The
mimicking
pool
tune.
cues to "Don't Stop Me Now," and then finally they just like throw him into the jukebox to stop it. And it's at this point that Barbara has a funny episode, and you realize she is not long for this world. And this is whenever the zombies are breaking in, so everyone takes a moment to see how Barbara is. And the Irish fella just acts like a cunt and grabs the Winchester rifle that was above the bar and aims it at Barbara. So Sean has lost a new father figure that he had when he was younger as well. So that's a weird sentence. And his mother figure in the same day. And David then tries to shoot Sean after the ma gets shot.
Sean killed his mom,
Yeah.
and then David said something smart, and Sean punches him, and yeah, David grabs the gun. He goes to shoot.
There's no bullets in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then David decided that he's not staying there anymore.
To go open the door, Diane scolded him and told him not to, and like he was like standing by the window and like he apologized, but then the zombies break through the window and grab him.
And
And they
pull him apart.
yeah, and that was gruesome.
It's unrealistic completely with the strength of these zombies in this film.
It's funny because they are holding onto his legs, trying to bring him back in, and they're opening up his stomach and like taking his innards out. And at one point,
They're
you see
pulling off arms and then the head
yeah, the
goes as
head.
well.
But then at the same time, Sean and the group they pull his leg off. Like all of a sudden, he's just.
He's just gone.
But he's
It's
dead, and Diane's like freaking out, like, "Oh, we gotta go get him."
the makeup on the corpse or like the prosthetics. It reminded me a lot of the androids in Alien.
Oh, dude, I thought the
You know the way
same
they sort
thing.
of have the loose skin, flappy
Yes,
bits.
yes, yeah. I believe Diane opens the door after that, trying to go get him.
Oh, she fucking goes for the zombies trying to get him back. He is gone, and the world is better for it. So it's left with just Sean and Liz and Ed. And Sean is a shit shot. We learn very quickly Sean cannot shoot. But you know
I
who
don't
can
think
shoot? Ed can shoot.
I was gonna say their aim was terrible when they were throwing the stuff at the zombies.
At the start, you see Ed playing the video game, and
Mhm.
Sean gives him the directions, and it's like, "Oh yeah, good shot." The zombies start breaking in slowly, one by one, even though there's a big horde of them. So they're barking the same instructions at Sean that Sean gave to Ed at the start of the film. Headshot, nice. So, needless to say, the zombies get in, and Ed is taken out by Pete, big old naked Pete with his balls swinging in the wind.
Also, another thing, Sean was like, "Hey, Pete," and Pete actually looked up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
little details that there seems to be a muscle memory there, or there
yeah.
seems to be like a base memory. Ed gets bit, and they jump behind the bar. They do Zambuca shots, but they don't actually do Zambuca shots. There's just like flames all the way around.
Hmm.
They do basically like a last level in Left for Dead, you can
Right.
imagine. So Ed's not long for this world, and they make it into the cellar where the kegs are kept. They close the door behind them, and Ed's sitting there just about to die. and they talk about a suicide pact. Very cheery stuff this episode. I hyped it up to be more frat boy than it is.
It's fine. It's fine.
And Ed's turned into a zombie, but they've got a gun and they've got 2 shells left. So Liz and Shaun basically talk about shooting one another and ending it before the zombies can. And they decide to have one last cigarette. And as they turn on the lighter, they see the button to get out to the street where the kegs are brought in. So they leave Ed there to die on
And
his
they,
own accord.
and they give him the Winchester, which is nice.
They do give him the gun. That's true. And they give him one last cigarette. And Liz says, "Love you, Ed." Shaun says, "I love you, Ed." And he goes, "Huh, yay." So it's Liz and Shaun on the street, zombies everywhere. And all they've got is a pool cue and a bat, like a cricket bat. And you think, right, they're going to have to fight their way through this. And the army show up.
They're so organized. They show up and they just start mowing down these zombies, just lighting them up.
And with them is the girl, Yvonne. She has like this weird connection with Shaun, but it's just her. And she's still got the golf club that she had earlier. So, with the British Army, who all have rifles, she hops out with a golf club ready to start swinging. And that's it. That's where it ends. They bring Shaun and Liz to safety and then snap forward to a couple months later. And what do you know? Capitalism does what it always does. They say on the news, like, zombies have retained a base memory of who they used to be. And you see one chained up, pushing like shopping carts at a mall back to the center.
Yeah, he's like chained to the corral.
There's a weird parallel throughout this whole film of zombies and the working class being like one and the same. Because at the start, you see that montage of all the checkout ladies in a row. And one of them's the girl from the garden, yeah, Mary. And you sort of compare that with at the end of the film where you have this guy collecting shopping carts in the same sort of way. But you have a whole like new genre of television, like a child at the age of 4 killing his whole family with a shotgun in Mexico.
Like
The knockoff Dr. Phil.
Yep.
The wipeout.
Wipeout.
Yeah,
Like
the zombie
Wipeout.
wipeout. Yeah. They're in the same flat. They're in the same flat where Pete lived and Ed lived, and it's just returned to normal. Liz is like, "Oh, we'll have a few drinks, we'll have a meal, and then we'll wander home to the house."
Right.
And that's just exactly what they were doing before.
Yeah, it's the same routine.
It's like Liz has this realization that, oh shit, maybe life is okay being boring and predictable.
And then Shaun heads out to the backyard.
He says, "I'm going to shoot out to the backyard for a few minutes." And she's like, "All right, then." And you find sitting playing video games like he's a gorilla. Ed, zombie Ed, chained up. That's where it ends.
Yeah, great movie. There's a lot of really good details, and I like in the opening how it's kind of showing people they're not zombies, but they kind of have that same walk.
The shuffling. This film was made in 2004. It's older than my sister, but it's like got the style of the time. Like Ed talks a lot of like grime gangster shit, even though he's this large, really unremarkable man.
Oh,
He's a dealer as well. Don't we get a vibe of that he like just
he
deals and plays video games?
that's what he does all day. Doesn't clean or anything.
Favorite running joke of that film is whenever he looks at Shaun, he goes, "I'm sorry." Shaun goes, "It's okay. It's not your fault." "No, Shaun, I'm sorry." And then you realize that he farted.
Yeah, which he pulls that same joke as he's dying.
But this film was like Edgar Wright's first big film, I believe. And it's like you can see elements of his later work. He's like cutting his teeth on it. There's the whole foreshadowing thing, like the plan that Ed comes up with whenever they're out drinking. So Ed decides while they're sitting drinking to plan out their next day. And you know, whenever you're drinking, you think, "Oh, I'll just drink tomorrow because this is such a good time." And then you wake up with a hangover and it's like, "Oh, that plan's completely out of the window. You need to sleep all day." This is exactly the opposite. It goes exactly how Ed says it will. His plan is keep drinking, Bloody Mary first thing, a bite at the King's Head, a couple at the Little Princess, stagger back to the Winchester, and have shots at the back of the bar. So the Bloody Mary is the poor zombie they found outside that they had to kill first. A bite at the King's Head is whenever Philip gets bit at the neck when they go to pick up him and Barbara. A couple at the Little Princess is Liz and the couple
David and Diane.
at their flat. They fake being zombies and stagger to the Winchester.
Naturally.
And then they have the rifle at the back of the bar taking shots at zombies.
Right.
It's such clever foreshadowing.
I love it.
Another great example is when Pete and Ed are fighting at the start of the film, when they're drunk and Pete came down the stairs like pissed off. He says to Ed, you want to live like an animal, go live in the shed. And at the end of the film, where do we find Ed? Living in his own filth.
And also, when Ed and Pete got into an argument, after Pete left, Ed was pretty much saying under his breath, like, next time I see him, he's dead. And
The next time he sees him, he is dead in the Winchester.
did I mention that
Bollock
already?
naked.
And
You'd be
obviously-
hard pushed to find a good zombie film. Well, there are good zombie films, but this is one of the better ones.
Right, right. And they just do a really good job, and the delivery on a lot of their jokes and stuff, and just very well done.
And you can see like bits of this film you'll watch and you think I've seen this before, and it'll be because you've seen it in like fucking Scott Pilgrim versus the World or Baby Driver or Hot Fuzz. You know, it's a very Edgar Wright specific film.
And the camera work is really done well too. Like a lot of the one shots and the shots where, things are happening quickly, like when they're at the bar drinking, cutting to the next scene like really quick.
They like turn the camera literally, and it's like the zoom into the next shot.
Right, yeah. I love scenes like that.
Next week's film is Dollman versus Demonic Toys. It'll be with Steph, L, maybe you, Gabe.
Possibly.
Possibly. I might take a break. Who knows? But until then, you can find us at GITM Podcast on Twitter. You can follow me at Atlas_Snow on Twitter.
You can follow me at Gabuto.
Okay, bye.